Are people currently reevaluating their leases and their property arrangements, or maybe not as much as we thought?
Initially, when we had our true shutdown, there was a huge knee-jerk reaction, and we all thought that was the end of the office as we knew it. Actually, like all good businesses, people are a lot more balanced than that. There is certainly evaluation going on. We've certainly had to do a lot of running around for people to deal with short-term issues. In terms of long-term evaluation, I think the next 12 to 18 months will be really key. Undoubtedly, there are going to be differences in our requirements for offices and the way we use our offices. But at the moment, people are being much more considered than you'd probably imagine, except those businesses perhaps that were reconsidering their office requirements in any event. And they've seen this as a great galvanising event. It may be a difficult event, but it may be a great galvaniser and prove a positive in that it has, if there's been any positives out of this, it has opened up dialogue between landlords and tenants, and it has made people look at quite how our whole office leasing structure, the historics of that, whether that's going to work going forward. So not a knee-jerk reaction, other than the initial dealing with rents and how people are going to deal with their short-term problems, definitely reconsidering, but I don't think we can make any judgment yet on quite how the office market is going to pan out. Lots of people love home working, but there are lots of reasons why that won't work on a full-time, forever basis. So it really is a question of watching this space at the moment.
So it sounds like there's some short-term, immediate people who are already in a process of considering their offices, which can be quite a few people, I guess, because you're going to look at that from quite a long way out to consider. I recall a client a few years ago who approached me about selling their business, and the timing was purely based on when their 5-year lease was going to end, and they didn't want to take on a new lease, so they wanted the two things to converge. So there's a fairly long lead time on that thing.
Yeah, and that's the very thing with the way we handle office space and leasing in England and Wales, is that it's often a long term. If 5 years can be considered long term, it was only 20 years ago, 5 years was considered very short term. But nowadays, it's very rare to see leases that are that short. So people are planning their business around the length of their lease. And likewise, that is one of the things that may change having to go forward, because people are realising that things can move through no fault of their own, that they're out of their control. So we are going to be having to look at going forward. And I think that's where the requirements of office will change, is how people deal in the future with their office space, how they deal with their landlords, if they have landlords in the future. What kind of deal are they looking for? And how are we going to compromise between what a landlord needs and these property holding companies and what they need, and what the needs are of the occupiers and the businesses. When people say to me, what's the one thing you think will come out of this whole episode? Well, it's early days, but I think what it will mean is that perhaps lease terms are going to change going forward.